Hi, I'm Gordon Bitko, Executive Vice President for Public Sector Policy at ITI, the Information Technology Industry Council. Today, I'm going to be reacting to some of the key takeaways from the event that ITI co-hosted with our member company Accenture last week at New York's Climate Week, where we talked about some of the key issues around AI and sustainability and the impact of the growing use of AI on data center energy requirements.
But just to start off here, I think, when we talk about AI, there's this sense that it's a brand new thing. So maybe just to level set this first, John, I'll turn this one to you, but just tell us a little bit more about the history of AI.
So long before many of your companies were thinking about this, long before any sustainability folks were involved, we were having these conversations trying to drive the efficiency. And because of that, as AI has become a bigger and bigger topic, our framework that we've had for years for thinking about how to make technology generally more efficient actually works really, really well for AI. So let's start by taking a step back. But generally speaking, AI has been around since the 1960s, early 1960s, when somebody decided, let's see if we can teach a computer to play a game of checkers. Right. And that was a mathematical thing, and that worked. And over the years, AI sort of started out with what today we refer to as machine learning.
Yeah, so those are great points from John. AI has been around in one form or another for a long time. When you think about it in just the mathematical sense of it, there's nobody who can disagree with him. At the same time, though, I think it's important for us to recognize we are at an inflection point to some degree. The growth in AI, the demand is on an exponential increase, and that is new and different. I think that's something that we all need to be thinking about collectively. And while having that historical background and understanding that some of what we're doing today is not new is important, at the same time we do need to recognize that we are at this point in time where things are changing, and we need to be responsible to those changes and thinking about how to respond to them.
We're at the end of Climate Week. What's the mood been like this year?
What I've really been struck by compared to other conferences that I go to is the number of young people, the number of students that have been coming around to the events trying to learn about companies that are involved in the sustainable space, that they're really looking for ways that they can get involved and direct their careers towards tackling these challenges.
Many of the conversations I've been in this week have been conversations of frustration. How many more conversations does it take to get to the answer? I sat in a panel around critical minerals, and the question was, we can't solve this problem by ourselves. We cannot be, the miners alone cannot be the only ones thinking about sustainability. Down the value chain, we have to be thinking about how we pay for it. Where do the premiums come from? Where is policy? Without policy, how do we group and connect and make things happen? And that's a real challenging conversation.
I'm struck by how this whole conversation of AI has permeated every single conversation.
This is the first year that it's really dominated?
Absolutely. And it's funny how something can really just sort of energize and channel the whole discussion.
To me this year feels different. There seems to be more buzz, more energy.
I think that was a great question from Hope King, the moderator for that panel, to really draw out from the panelists there that we are at a point where sustainability and the interest in sustainability has transitioned into a much broader interest in technology. It was fascinating to hear several panelists, several of the members talking about the buzz, the focus on AI this year, and that being unique. My experience and understanding in the past of Climate Week has been that it's been a very diverse, diffused conversation, lots of different topics going on, lots of important aspects and angles to sustainability. But this year it was different. This year there was a lot about AI, and that does reiterate and reemphasize the point that we really are at something of an inflection. We really do need to be thinking about the impact of AI and the impact of technology, and more broadly about the costs and benefits, the pros and cons to these technologies. And that's why having an event like that was so important for us. It's a way to have that conversation publicly and to talk with all the stakeholders. That's the other interesting thing that I take away from that part of the conversation. There are a lot of interested parties. There are a lot of stakeholders. It's governments, it's industry, it's students, it's academics, it's everybody. People are aware of the issues and the implications, and really does mean that we all need to be working together to solve these problems. And so my reaction, my thought on all that is that that's good news in a way. It means that people care passionately about this issue, much the way that the tech industry does, and that hopefully we're all going to work on it together. I think the point that that Mark made, that AI was everywhere, I didn't go to that many events myself. I tried to go there and back relatively quickly because there's so much stuff going on, and I sometimes, to be honest, find it hard to be productive in situations like that where there's a million conversations going on. It's hard to focus. But I did hear uniformly from so many people that AI was at the core of a lot of the conversations. I talked offline with our keynote speaker, Carla, from the Department of Energy, Carla Frisch, and she noted as well the preponderance of conversations on this topic, on the intersection of AI and energy and sustainability.
Right, you were mentioning your report, and congrats on that. And one of the audience is policymakers. And I will say we are here and we are listening. Because when we think about this topic of growth in electricity demand, we are excited about it. We have had flat demand, like you said, the last 10 or 15 years. But before that, we were regularly experiencing decades with 30% growth in electricity demand in the US. And we were meeting it. And back then, we did not have what we have now, which is a set of technologies that are available now and cost effective, many more technologies, and a set of incentives to help deploy those technologies, particularly from the Inflation Reduction Act, the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law. So we're well poised to do that. And how far does the curve keep going up? When we draw the curve, it keeps going up all the way through 2050. There is no plateau. There is no going down, because the demand we're seeing right now, we're looking at, let's say, the next 10 years, a 15% projection in electricity demand in the U.S. From the North America Electric Reliability Corporation that looks at this. And there's three main sources of that. One, y'all are doing it, AI and data centers. Two, we are seeing a resurgence of domestic manufacturing in the U.S., including, in a meta way, manufacturing of clean energy technologies in the U.S., and then some increased demand from electric transportation. And all of those sources we are projecting to continue to grow.
I think that was a really well articulated framing from Carla. The reality is that for all sorts of reasons, electricity demand is growing now. It's AI and data centers, but it's electric vehicles, and it is reshoring manufacturing, and it's the bipartisan infrastructure law incentivizing the use of heat pumps at home, and we can go on and on. There's all sorts of great examples. The other takeaway from that for me is that it's an incredible opportunity. The growth in demand in the U.S. in electricity needs to be matched by continued innovation. That's something that the U.S. has excelled at in cycles. We've stagnated in some areas over time, but now is a time where that needs to come together for power generation and distribution and improvements in technology. And really that's necessary for all of us to benefit. And it's necessary for all of us to address the climate and sustainability challenge. I'm glad that Carla, that the Department of Energy look at it as they're excited by that as an opportunity. I think that that's right. From the technology industry standpoint, I think we should also be excited about it, because it is going to be a forcing function for more innovation. It's going to create all sorts of opportunities for people to do new things, both with AI and around computing and around data centers and areas that probably we haven't even thought of yet, but that are going to be necessary to solving this issue. And to me, that's incredibly exciting. It means that there's going to be new things that we can all learn about and learn from and use and teach our kids, and hope that they can even build on those for decades and decades to come. Carla said the curve is growing up continuously through 2050. That's a whole generation or more from now that we're going to be going through this cycle. And what an incredible time to be part of all of that.
We've got a lot of opportunity. Just this year in the U.S., we're going to have record clean energy deployment, largely solar and storage. And how big is that record? It's double the biggest record from ever before, which was last year of building out those clean energy technologies. So particularly on storage, which is great for data centers to help with flexibility. Even just a few years ago, it was more of an idea.
I wish I was an engineer all over again. I got into policy the long and circuitous route. But I spent more than a decade as an engineer, and hearing all that, hearing the opportunities, hearing the demand, the need for innovation. I really wish I was an engineer again, that I could roll up my sleeves, that I could help solve some of these problems. I hope right now that my kids, my sons who are in high school and middle school, that they love and have a passion for engineering and solving hard problems and helping the planet, and can become contributors in working in these areas. That's really, for me, the takeaway, that we need people from all backgrounds, from all skills, from all experiences working together. And Carla noted the growth in demand, and that just means we need more people working in the space. We need more people thinking about it, working on it. And like I said, I wish it were me. I'm too old and too far removed to do that anymore. But I hope that other people out there, and that my kids and others really get involved. It was a great conversation at Climate Week this year in New York. We really look forward to continuing this dialogue, to having more conversations over the coming years, but not just conversations, actually working with key policymakers and stakeholders in industry and in government to advance a lot of the changes and a lot of the recommendations in real and concrete and tangible ways. We at ITI have already started working on some of those recommendations. You can see them in our policy paper, and you'll continue to see us put out more detailed recommendations over time. For those details and more, visit our website, www.itic.org.